And welcome back, everybody, for another edition of the Auburn Undercover podcast. Here in our usual kind of spot, we're making this our...
Yes.
We've got our territory, I guess, outside the football facility for the recruiting roundup. Jason, first time to talk about actual visits, guys on campus. As we touched on multiple times leading up and the pregame blitz and all that stuff, Auburn loaded up for the first game against Ball State. You had to because of the way the schedule is kind of shifted, or the way it's fallen this year. Mm-hmm. And it was a good visitor list. And there was some really good news coming out of the weekend in terms of positive buzz, things moving in the right direction for Auburn. On that, we'll start with the Wells brothers. Those were probably the two biggest names going in. Chris Wells, the South Alabama edge commit. Corey Wells, the Texas defensive line commit,
Yes.
who is a monster.
Full-on defensive tackle commit.
Yes, 6'5". He measured in. He's listed at 6'5", 300. Measured in at 330. Measured in at 6'5" as well.
Yeah, he's like this Malik Autry size guy.
Yes, he's a monster. He's a nose tackle. He is a plugger in the middle. He took his official visit in June, committed to Texas shortly thereafter, but Auburn has stayed on him. They offered his brother, Chris. I feel like I'm going to mix up these names at some point during the show. But they offered his brother, who's committed to South Alabama, the 2026 class. So Chris took his official visit this weekend. Corey tagged along. Basically a second official visit for him. Same thing for Chris, because he tagged along for Corey's
so you
official
got the
visit
double
in
whammy
June.
on both of them.
Yes, you doubled up basically on official visits. But Auburn has been pursuing Corey really, really hard. We feel like Auburn made a really big move for them this weekend and feel like there could be positive news for Auburn with both of them in the coming days.
Yeah, and we're talking about lines of scrimmage always important. And you look at Auburn's defensive line, and yeah, there's some edge guys that are younger, but you look at after this season and you start talking about, I mean, more than likely, Keldrick Crawford's going to be gone. Obviously, Kieron Crawford's a guy that could be gone. And you look in the middle, and you brought in these older body guys that are all going to be gone. You've got a lot of talent, but you're also going to need some players to step in and play. So replenishing that front is a big deal for them. You're going to take a transfer or two, probably. That's going to happen to get older, bigger body two guy. But you're going to continue to recruit high school guys. You're to add both of these guys, Chris. It'll be huge for them when you start talking about this 26 class and kind of restocking that defensive front.
Yeah, I think they've been a little picky on who they want on the defensive line. I don't think it's going to be a huge class in terms of numbers after what you just signed in the Malik Autry's, the Jordan Crawford, Darion Smith, Antonio Coleman. You just signed a big class. I think you'll take a couple high-end pieces there, guys that you feel like can contribute. And then I think you'll load up again in 2027, guys that we saw on campus, Donovan Moore, Elijah Brown, Carlos May, all three in-state defensive linemen, Waylon Wooten from Grayson, he was there as well. So you're seeing them kind of stagger that room out a little bit in terms of that. So that was some of the biggest news. Going in, probably the most intriguing visitor was Lasiah Jackson. We said on the pregame blitz, look, we've got a lot to learn. Just being completely honest, we don't know what Auburn necessarily fully thinks about him, what he thinks about Auburn. First visit for him went extremely well, and from everyone that we talked to in terms of what's Auburn's interest, it's really high. It
is, yeah. This is a guy that you look at Auburn's secondary, the makeup, and what DJ Durkin wants, and his versatility is one of the main things. You look at the versatile DB. This is a guy that's very versatile. Obviously, can play safety, can play corner, can play nickel. He can do a lot of different things. That's exactly what they're looking for. You think about Auburn, you think about Sylvester Smith, who really had a great game last Saturday night, but you think about, New Boy Fagans, those types of players. This is another one of those types of guys that gives you a lot of position versatility, adds to depth when you play multiple spots. And he's a talented guy. This guy that's
extremely talented.
You start talking about, look at it, and Stanford right now isn't playing very well, but Stanford has had some really good players over the years. And if you grab a guy like this is an elite type player that you could add to the secondary.
Yeah, you hear Stanford commit right now in the way college football is, and it's like, oh, he's probably not very good.
Yeah.
He's ranked as a top 130-ish player in the country. Everything I've gathered from our rankings team is like, look, he is that guy.
Yep.
He's committed to Stanford to play safety. Auburn likes him as a cornerback. You see, I figured out why he was committed to Stanford after talking to him.
Correct.
I was like, this is a very intelligent, very mature young man. Incredible. That was the first time I've interviewed him. I'm a fan.
Yeah.
No matter where he goes and plays, really big fan. He had a lot of really insightful things to say. I think one of the biggest things that stuck out to me was he got around the coaches a lot. He got around Crime Dog. He got around Hugh Freeze. And he said, we talked faith a lot. And he said, look, I'm not the most religious or faithful person right now, but when I go to college, I want to grow in that aspect. And he's like, I feel like Auburn is that school that could really do it for me. I thought that was a really mature answer. He had a lot of really good things to say, so go read the full story at auburnundercover.com. But he'll be back. Official visit set for the Georgia game. I think there's a decent chance he's back this weekend for the South Alabama game as well.
When you start to see those things, you start to really go, okay. Now, it's hard to get to Stanford a bunch, but when you start making these trips, it feels like that you're getting a little inroad and you're making some ground, and that's what Auburn's doing right now.
Look, after his first answer, there's a visit high. We know that. It's kind of guys are caught up in the excitement. You don't want to get caught up too much in that as well. In the interview, like, guys are going to be more excited after a game like that. But after his first answer, I was like, oh, that guy, I think he's going to sign with Auburn.
Very interested, yes.
Yes. Other guys that were in this weekend, Jason, Peyton Falzone, he took his first visit, and it was an official visit, brought his whole family in. So he got to spend, not the full weekend, he spent most of Saturday and Sunday. Obviously had to fly down Saturday morning after his high school team up there in Pennsylvania. Played a game on Friday night. His first chance to meet the coaches in person, obviously experience the game, meet his fellow commitments. A whole lot of firsts for him.
Yeah.
But it was all really exciting.
It was. What's funny is that we go out usually Tiger Walk and kind of go. That's our first chance to see who showed up, who's there. We're standing up where the statues are by Tiger Walk, and Peyton Falzone looks up, sees us, gets our attention, and then we take a picture of a group of guys. We'll then talk to him a little bit later, and he's like, his dad said, yes, he recognized y'all. So obviously he's watching videos. So Peyton, if you're watching, hey, good to see you this weekend. But it shows you, too, that's a guy that's invested. When you're watching, talking about the team and talking about the future, no question that for him it was a big deal to get down and to see everything, to get a feel for it. So, I thought could have gone much better for Auburn and Peyton Falzone getting them on campus for the first time.
Well, yeah, and I asked him after his official visit, too. I was like, look, you took a big leap of faith. You flipped here from your home state school, committed to Penn State at the time, from Nazareth, Pennsylvania. You flipped from your home state school without ever visiting. How do you feel about that decision now that you've been down here? And he said it was one of the best decisions he's ever made.
Yep.
Depending on his schedule, he's going to try and get back for the Georgia game, try and get back for the Iron Bowl. Those visit lists are going to be crazy. Everyone's going to try to get to them. For him, it's a little more difficult being from Pennsylvania, but I would expect him there for at least one of those games.
Yeah.
Other thing, measured in 6'5", 11-inch hands. Big paws.
Long, athletic kid and guy that's continued to tweak and alter his throwing motion. Honestly, and I hate to throw comparisons, but you look at him and it has a little bit of a guy playing for the Buffalo Bills when you look at it, three-quarter Elise, who's continued to work up, and you look at the things, he's continued to tweak those things, and he's going to be a big physical guy when he gets on the college campus in a couple of years. This guy's big. He's going to play at 225 and be a bigger quarterback. Yeah,
that's the thing. Auburn likes him as a quarterback. He's going to start there. If he does not pan out as a quarterback, we know what kind of athlete he is.
Yeah.
He will have a chance to make an impact in some form or fashion, but he's going to be given every opportunity to be a quarterback with Auburn. Jason, other big visitor, Deshawn Spencer comes in, the Duke wide receiver commit from Saraland, a guy that we've been high on for a long time. Got to see him at Under Armour Atlanta there in February, I think it was, and texted some folks after that and was like, that guy's worth another look.
Absolutely.
Really impressive then, has gotten off to a strong start to his senior season as well. Auburn has been keeping him I wouldn't say keeping him warm. I would say they've been keeping him very warm.
They're going to continue to recruit him for sure.
And they've been ramping it up. I think getting him here was huge. I think Auburn wants to keep on getting him back as much as possible. I think he wants to keep on getting back as much as possible. I think that's one that continues to trend in the right direction for Auburn.
I agree. We got a chance to see him towards the end of the year last year in a playoff game at Saraland. So he's really talented, really athletic. This is a guy space guy. Just think Eric Singleton, very similar type guy to Eric Singleton. Malcolm Simmons, probably more of an inside guy, but a guy that has some length to him, even though he's not 6'4", guy that got some long arms and good reach. So, yeah, I think a very quality football player that's worth keeping an eye on.
Jason, trying to rack my brain for any other big visitors. We mentioned the 2027 defensive lineman, Barack Willis. You could lump in that group as well.
A lot of young guys.
A lot of young guys.
Everywhere.
Nehemiah McCary gets offered from Maplesville. Linebacker, very similar to Jaquez Wilkes, plays running back for his team as well. That was newsworthy. I'm trying to think.
And speaking of Jaquez Wilkes,
we
had a chance to watch him Friday night and
set a state record.
Yeah, he was part of a state record. They scored 56 points in a quarter against Fayetteville, and I think it winded up, I think if I remember right, 8 carries, 183 yards.
9 for 209.
9 for 209, 4 touchdowns, 4 2-point conversions, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and a forced fumble. So he was all over the place. So it kind of looked like Kieron Crawford on the field there as he walks up. But, yeah, really talented. This is a guy that could end up doing the same things for Auburn at maybe at defensive end edge position, but athletic linebacker and a guy that can play. So it was fun watching him, kind of see him do all those things again. We saw him last year.
Yeah, we've been really high on him for a while. Auburn hasn't committed as a linebacker. We continue to kind of feel like his future home is probably more at edge. Feel like that's where he can fit in a little bit more, a little bit better. Maybe not necessarily edge. Like he feels like a buck linebacker.
Correct.
He feels like a guy that can drop into coverage at times. But you need to get him after the passer. That's what we feel like. Now we're not DJ Durkin.
Yeah, and he can play linebacker.
Yeah.
But I think size wise, that's going to be the thing, because you look at him at a small school like this, plays basketball, he does all the other sport. He gets to Auburn, I think he's a guy that's going to weigh easily 255 pounds. He's probably 230 right now.
230, 235. Yeah.
You're talking about another 20 pounds for him. He'll probably be faster, more explosive, and he could give you that big hulking linebacker. But with his length, maybe a guy that you want to bring off the edge some too.
Yeah, so we'll see kind of position-wise what works out with him. Jason, unless I'm sure I'm missing some guys, some big visitors.
There were many young guys.
And we'll have more stories at auburnundercover.com. Trying to rack my brain of other guys. I mean, Carter Davis from Gulf Shores, the receiver. There was some young receivers in there. Callaway had a receiver in as well from 2027.
Georgia State decommit offensive line.
Yes,
that's a guy to keep an eye on.
Jared Dowy.
Yep.
Got a chance to talk with him. Committed to Georgia State. Reopened his recruitment on Saturday morning. I know some people were questioning, ranked as kind of a mid 3-star, was committed to Georgia State.
It'll be this for him.
Yes.
I have a feeling with the late offers he's got.
He got offered by Georgia last week. That's where he visited. He got offered by Missouri. Then he got offered by Auburn. He's going to go visit Georgia Tech this weekend. We think he's going to keep moving up. Look, we got to see him in person. He passes the eye test. And as Auburn is looking for more pieces along this offensive line class, at least one or maybe two more, he's a guy that makes a lot of sense. He'll be back for an official visit, probably the Kentucky game, but it's not set yet. So I'm glad you mentioned him. I knew there was one main big one that we were missing, and that's it.
That's a guy, yeah. So a lot of names. Christian did a great job of kind of trying to keep up with all that over the weekend, and it was a lot. But check it out. Tons of stories, and obviously a lot of football talk too.
Yeah, so appreciate everyone being here. More podcasts throughout the week as the usual kind of schedule unfolds going into the South Alabama game. Mentioned Lasiah Jackson might be back. Probably a decent, another group of young guys coming in this weekend if I had to guess. Alabama hosts Wisconsin. Wisconsin's terrible, but that's a better game to go to than Auburn South Alabama at 11:45 in the morning. But we think it'll be a solid visitor list. We'll have more on that later on this week. So appreciate everyone tuning in. We'll catch you guys soon.